Hi everybody, welcome to the DM's Corner. This video series is about what's a DM and how to be a DM for any Dungeons and Dragons game. Uh, I hope you'll like this one. I'll also do one for the players, and it's gonna be great. Today we're gonna talk about what's a DM. The very basic, what's a DM. But to understand what's a DM, you have to understand what's not a DM. And to that, you'll see there's a lot more thought into it than you think there is. What's not a DM? The first thing that comes to mind is the DM is a villain. That is not true. A lot of people will think that a DM is the villain because he plays the B-bag, he plays the villains, he plays the games, so players will lock themselves in, meaning they'll have secrets that they don't want the DM to know, because if they know, automatically their villains will be onto it and they will be going for us. That's not true. That's just not true. That's a misconception from the players because they always see the DM play the villains. So they think, oh, they're the villains. No, they're not. A DM is there to be sure that everyone has fun, that everyone has their moment to shine. So, yeah, they're not the villain. They're there to help you. They're there to be with you. They're not the villain. Secrets between you and your DMs will just further off that metagaming type of things, and it's just not right. So yeah, your DM is not a villain. That's the first thing the DM is not. Now, the DM is also not your employee. A lot of people will think, I sat at your table, you should make me great. You should accomplish all I want you to do for me. Okay, the DM is not your employee. He is not your slave. He doesn't work for you. He's like you. He wants to be at the table. He wants to have fun. To him, his fun is to make stories, is to see where the stories will go. But he doesn't work for you. He works for himself. So be mindful of your DM. If you consider them as your employees or your slave, things might not go the way you want them to go. And in the end, the DM might throw you away. Or you probably will throw the DM away. It's one or the other, but in either case, it's gonna be bad for the table. The DM is also not there to satisfy your desires, your fantastical desires. And what I mean for that, a lot of people will disagree with me on this one, but hear me out. When I say desire, fantastical desires, is that if you want anime style, powerful creature, like I'm a demon from an outer plane that is stuck in a mortal coil, but I still have my powers, and if I just click my fingers, that B-bag will be gone. That may not be what your DM has in mind. That may not even fit at all into the universe the DM has in mind. He might try to get you into that with that kind of things, but be mindful. That is a desire that you may want that may not fit with the DM, that may not fit with the rest of the table at all. I had players that just wanted to play anime style Uber characters, where they're just level 20 right at the beginning, and I was like, no, that's not how I play the game. This is not what I want. And the player was like, but that's what I want, and you should make that happen because it's what I want. And I was like, no, look for another DM. I know one that plays anime styles. He might be for you. And I just threw them in there because they had desires, and they wanted me to work those desires into my settings. But I was like, no, those desires does not fit with my settings. And that's the point. Your desires may not fit the setting of your DM, and it's his world, not yours. He took the time to design things. He might, like I do, he might want to put it 50-50 and just do some of the road, but you'll have to take the other half. You have to do your part. But that's what I mean by desires, fantastical desires. He's not there to satisfy your desires regardless of what they are. He's there to make sure you have fun, the others have fun, and it all fits together. And that's the point. It has to all fit together. If it does not, something will be going wrong. So don't expect your DM to satisfy every desires you have. Things might not go your way, and that's the point of this argument. Things might not go your way. You should be ready for things not going your way. Now, another thing the DM is not is a rules lawyer. A DM is not a rules lawyer. He will not know the rules by heart. How often do you see a DM take the player handbook and just look at spells? If we had to know every single spell by heart, sorry, but that's not gonna happen. We have a lot of things on our minds. Knowing rules by heart, that is not one of them. Other players might have time to study those rules, and the DM might have time to study those rules, and he might know a lot. Like me, he's been playing the same edition for years on end. Eventually he'll get there, but that's the point. Eventually he'll get there. But not all DMs are born equal, as I will say. They do not study equally. Some prefer modules, others will create their own. So when it comes to rulings, to each their own, and that's the point. So your DM is not a rules lawyer, so if you want a rule to be exactly this, you should tell your DM. But you should also be aware that your DM might not play that rule exactly how you know it. And both of you should be able to talk it out. The last two things that a DM is not, is the first one being your DM is not a writer. A writer is someone who takes the time to understand the words he's saying, to understand what he's saying, to understand, to plan, sorry for my English, to plan the world around you and make sure it is vibrant, it is cool, it is hot. Most of the time, DMs go by the seat of their pants. They just have an idea in their head that may have just popped up about 2 minutes ago because of something the player said. And that idea will germinate. That idea, they will say, yeah, that's a good idea. And sometimes they will just do it on the spur of the moment. And when you do that, the story cannot be fully developed. The story cannot be chosen, and words might be missing. So, yeah, your DM is not a writer. He's not someone who takes time to write things down. Most of the time we're just going by the seats of our pants, and that's about it. We just go on. It's not because your DM looks like someone thought out that he knows things, that he had planned. How often are my players asking me, did you plan that off? And I was like, yeah, I did. And somehow, in the back of my head, I know that's not true. I know that I just had the idea a few minutes ago. I had already planned one or two things, but it was not planned. It was not planned at all. And about 5 minutes ago, I didn't even have the ID. So yeah, don't expect the DM to have everything written down and just down to the every corner of the mind. It's not gonna happen. The last thing to go for is to know about a DM, of what a DM is not, is perfection. Your DM is not perfection. Your DM is not perfect. He makes mistakes. Matt Mercer and Chris Perkins, two DMs I really love, but they both make mistakes, and I've seen them make a lot of mistakes. And does it appear on screen? Maybe, maybe not, but I saw them. So every DM is the same. They're not born the same. They're different. You have to understand that. You cannot just judge one DM based on another. It's something that just cannot happen. It's like judging our planet against Mars. They are two very different ecosystems. They cannot be matched. They are too different. They're just not the same. It's the same for every DM. They have their pros, they have their cons. You cannot say that one is better than another. It's just not possible to do that. They both have their own styles. So, knowing what a DM is not. Now that you know what a DM is not, let's see what a DM is, because that's the important part, really. What is a DM? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is being a friend. A DM is a friend. A DM is someone who just wants to play, who just wants to have fun with his friends. And you can talk to him. If you have any problem whatsoever, you can just talk to him and he'll be there. He'll listen to you. If he doesn't, then maybe you're not at the right place or at the right table. You may want to find another one. But at its base, the DM is a friend. And that will always be true. A DM is also a player, just like you are. He's not playing a single character, he's playing thousands of them. He's playing the whole world around you, but at the base, he's still playing. So you should understand that and let him have his fun too. Don't just let him be a DM, let him have his fun. Let him have that player vibe that you have too. Your DM is also a universe on its own. I talked about planets before, but that's about the same. Each DM has their own universe. Each DM plays differently. Each DM just have their own universe, and you should love that universe. If you don't, then again, find another table, find another DM, someone who you will love the world for. That's the good thing about it, is that every DM is different and every DM has their own things to do or say. So just try them out. You may love them. In conclusion, a DM is a lot of things. But here's are the few hints that here's advices that I can give you to help your DM help you. The first thing you should do is respect your DM. Respect his work, not word, his works. He plans a lot. He does a lot of work for you as a player. So, yeah, respect your DM. Respect is something people think is earned, but that's just not true. Respect is given at all times. You can lose respect, and if you lose the respect of your DM, or your DM lose your respect, again, change the table, go for someone else. You're free to go. But respect is a given at all times. May it be on both sides. You should also care for his work, which goes into your the respect as well. Care for his work. I mean, I created a character that was like Azulal something, and it was uber fun. I liked that character a lot. First thing one of my players said is, how the hell do you pronounce that name? I'll call you Bob. And I was like, Bob. So, you're fine if I call your character Roger? You're fine if your wife is now Jake? You're fine if your daughter is like now Sissy? Or Pussy? And the player did not understand my reaction, but I do my work. I plan things, and seeing my players not care for my world just makes me not care for theirs. So why play the game at that point? Eventually I talked to the player late after that, and he understood what I meant, and it became better after that. But yeah, just care for the work of your DM. He does a lot for you. If he doesn't, then something is wrong. But if he does a lot of work for that game to work, so yeah, care for his work. Get involved in his work. Now, your DM, you should let him be part of your team, and that's the last thing I'll be telling you tonight. You should let him be part of your team. That's about the player thing, it's the same thing, it's let him be a part of it. So, if he plays an NPC that you really like, go back to that NPC. Let him play that NPC. Let him be part of your team. Do not hesitate. Ask for your DM's NPC to join the fray if you need help. Even more if you need help. I'll take Matt Mercer and his Chroma Conclave. People, they needed other people to help them, and they did. They asked it, and they did. They got help from the NPC, and Matt had a lot of fun that day. So let your DM be part of your team. I'm not talking about the NPCs, which is an entire video all by itself, but let him be part of your team. If you like what he does, make sure to come back to that. He will love you for it. I'm gonna finish on thanking you for watching this video. I really hope you liked it, and I may get better, I may get something, and I just realized I did not put any music on this one, so I'll have to put it down later. So yeah, just subscribe if you liked it, and if you want more of these videos, and click the notification bell. Do not hesitate. That bell is useful because if I put out a video, which I'll try to put one every week, may take 2 weeks sometimes because I'm really busy lately, but yeah, I'll try to put one every week, and this series is just one out of many. So yeah, see you next time.